I'm starting off with chapter 4 because a lot of business gets trashed for being unethical, and a lot of times it is ethical. So I think this is a great beginning. This is a highlight when I do these videos. They're not giving you the whole detail in the chapter. It's an overview. You've got objectives to learn. They're discussed in the book. Management should and must set the standards. You work for a company that doesn't set standards, it might not be a good place. I put these little things in here where they want you to name the company. This could actually be in a quiz that I do in class for you where I want you to do this. A lot of companies do treat part-timers pretty good. It depends on the organization. For example, Starbucks might not pay the highest, but they offer health benefits, they offer tuition benefits. And for those of you, you might be a little bit too young, but about 8 years ago, 2008, 9 years ago, there was a big banking fraud. We went into a deep recession, and a lot of people got away with it. Only one person went to jail in this whole mortgage meltdown where a lot of people lost their homes. And one of these people in here that did go to jail right now is Bernie Madoff. He did a Ponzi scheme where it is, I'm selling something, I sell to two people. These two people each have to sell to two people. So that means four, you double it, 8, 16. You keep doubling the numbers, you're in thousands very soon. He was able to make payments to people by using the money from the new buyers. And Ponzi schemes have been going on for a long time. There's a lot of organizations that are accused of it. I'm not going to name them. I don't want to be accused of libel, but when they want you to sell more partnerships and dealerships to other people than the product, I would call that a Ponzi scheme. And they also prey on the gullible. Ethics. And you could be unethical yet still be operating within the law. Two different things. And one thing I've always said, if you have to ask somebody if what I'm doing is ethical, the chances are about 98% it isn't, because I've had to ask a couple of times and they say, what do you think? And I go, I said, I guess I shouldn't be doing that. There is an assignment that you're going to be talking about ethics, how you've dealt with situations. These are moral values here, and I think just looking at these, you know what they are. There's a lot more in the wrong category that we could add to it. And another thing too, as college students, it's plagiarizing. It's one thing if you take information from a website, but put a footnote, mention where you got it from. Other thing too, provide your own interpretation of what the data is or the information is that you got. And borrowing other people's work and saying it's your own, it's really hurting yourself in the long run, because when you get a job, if you cannot do the work, and I think you'll figure out, you're going to end up losing the job. People are not going to cover for you. And these are ethical dilemmas that you go through. Being legal, balanced. Are you going to feel bad or good about yourself? Sometimes you got to take the high road, and as I always say, there's no potholes in the high road. And these are some companies that have been investigated. Some of these you may not have heard. And in some countries, bribery is considered acceptable. For all the criticism we hear about the U.S., we do have, believe it or not, one of the most honest forms of government and businesses. And these were some nice things here about how this person here was working with Defy Ventures to help former convicts start their own businesses. And this is a good thing. If they have paid the price, they need to be recognized and employed. There are certain limits where you wouldn't want certain people working with children or with money. If they embezzled, you don't want them at the bank. But maybe on the basketball court, coaching the kids would be great. And these are what we have, some test prep questions. When you see these here, ask yourself, write it down on there. You could always pause the videos. And ethics does start at the top. If the boss is honest, works hard, gets down, and works with the employees, that's someone you can trust. If they want you to do things that you would consider illegal, be careful. I had an issue years ago with a company where they want me to bribe the postal authorities about something, and I just told the boss, I'm not doing it. And sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. It can be tough when you need the job or when you're afraid of the boss. And these are managerial ethics where it goes for the individual. Again, this is detailed in the book here, and we're just looking at what the individual, the organization, and the environment of the business with cultural institutions or with even nationalities and things here. Don't want to say anything. You will discover that some countries consider bribery the part of business. And a lot of companies do have codes, whether they can adopt the code of ethics, but they need to, what's the word? Follow it and punish people. But a lot of times people that are bringing in the bucks, doing things that are unethical or whatever, will be looked over or ignored because they can get away with it. And they're bringing money into the bottom line. And again, it talks about improving business ethics. This is a textbook. The world is not a textbook. However, you could take what you learned in the text and apply it in the business if you are to start one or become a manager, which hopefully you all will be someday. And they've got to be trained how to notice the implications of all their business decisions. Point number 3, very important. And a lot of times they're just looking at the bottom line for this week. And these whistleblowers, sometimes it doesn't work. I've seen or heard of examples where the whistleblower is fired. They have to sue to get their job back. It's not an easy situation. It happens in government, it happens in corporations, and it even happens in a nonprofit. It could happen in any place. It tells you here how to blow the whistle. And I would always say if you're doing it, keep detailed written notes so that way you are protected. A lot of people don't want to do it because they're afraid of the repercussions. And yes, repercussions do happen. They don't put you in the witness protection program. And we're talking now about corporate social responsibility. And a lot of companies do a lot for like charities, organizations, whether it's something to deal with a disease, an illness, a cause, a museum, which is good. Corporate philanthropy, where they donate, or the people go out one day. As an example, at one company, they had a thing where they were helping people with their homes. My elderly mother, some volunteers came out. 20 of them did a lot of repairs on her house. They installed a new front step. They painted the cellar stairs. They put down a carpet on the front porch. It was wonderful. They were there for the entire day. We didn't have to pay a penny. They even brought in the products and everything. We bought them lunch that day. It was a great day for these volunteers and for the family, which my mother really appreciated. And we have a corporate responsibility, and you want to make a safe product. You don't want to pollute, and you don't want to waste electricity, and you don't want them going upstairs that are going to fall down. And a corporate policy. This can backfire. A lot of people go after Starbucks for its liberal policies. However, they are pretty fair to their employees. In some cases, sometimes they're not. You've got to respect them for that, even though you might disagree. And some places have, like Xerox has a social service lead program. I don't know if they still have that. The company is downsizing right now. It is not the company it used to be, yet right now it is considered to be a good stock purchase because they're regrouping right now. And I don't know at this third point here when you're getting your MBA, and I think in some cases you would work for a lower salary, providing you're working for a good company where you value their values, you treasure their values. And these are talking about some celebrities that are doing it. We can see right here that this is a little dated. Angelina and Brad are no longer together, but Michael Fox has done a lot for Parkinson's research. A lot of these people are generous with their money. They have many, many millions of dollars, if not billions. Yet, for them, it might be chump change for them, but they're doing something good. And these are people where the world's biggest givers, okay? And this is going back 4 years ago. These people are being generous in many ways, and a lot of times they might have an agenda. But even if you say they have an agenda, you accept the gift. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And Kennedy, I know he's been gone for over 50 years now, but he had the basic rights of consumers right to safety, being informed, to choose and be heard. Do we always have the right to choose? Not always. If you're getting internet service at home, you're kind of locked into one, maybe two companies, and the competition is not that good in other areas, especially if you're looking at, I would say, medical insurance. Not that many companies around that you can choose from. And customers being informed, social media can help. And you also, I will say, don't believe everything you read on social media. And it's talking about Twitter engagement. Twitter's become very popular with our new president. And you can use a tweeting here for certain good things here. It talks what not to do. Personally, I have found that Twitter tends to be reported mostly by the press. I don't know many people who are following John Jones tweets, but that is a choice. Insider trading, that's when you work for the company, you know information, and that way you gather the stock money and you can make money off of an upcoming merger with another company or whatever. This is unethical, and this happened with Martha Stewart, insider trading, probably about 10 or plus years ago. She went to jail for 6 months for insider trading. She was made an example. A lot of people get away with it, but she did create more than a bit of a scandal years ago. And you have a responsibility to employees, if it's large enough, provide upward mobility, respect them, and help them reach their personal goals with a decent salary and some benefits. And these are some most admired companies from a couple of years ago. I don't know where they stand today, but I do know I've known of people that have worked for Google and Starbucks. They like it. FedEx is good to work for. GE is now up in the Boston area. And I'm not saying with the fraud here in the companies here, with disgruntled employees, sometimes they can do unethical things themselves, and just because you were underpaid, it doesn't give you the right to walk home with half of the grapes in the store. I think you know what I'm saying. And it talks about nonprofits. A lot of people do work for nonprofits. I'm a teacher at a college. They're a nonprofit. Even though I get paid to teach there, they lose money on almost every class I teach. The green movement, helping the environment. Carbon footprint, try not to use too much energy. Try not to print too much paper for the class. And these environmental efforts do increase costs, but they can also offer opportunities in increasing jobs in other areas. Renewable energy is very popular, And they're saying there will be more and more green jobs out there. So if you're into engineering, chemistry, science, this could be a field to go into, or in marketing it. And it's talking about some products that are made, rickshaw backwards, and it talks about the 3 F's that they're using there: form, function, footprint. Social auditing. And these are the people here: the customers, the union officials, environmentalists, socially conscious investors. So there are funds that only work with companies that they view as, quote, moral. They will not invest in companies that manufacture tobacco, alcohol, or arms. And research organizations too. So they do that. Again, when they report, you sometimes have to take it with a grain of salt. And now we're talking in here about international ethics. And I talked about that before, that some countries have a totally different view of what is and is not acceptable. And you have to know a lot of these things if you're working in an international business